Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. Today we'll be talking about the emotion and communication. The chapter 7. Emotion plays a crucial shows that we express ourselves and interact with others, whether in personal conversation or professional settings. Therefore, as I was saying, emotional intelligence is very important, especially in the workplace, because it helps us build stronger relationships and advance in our careers. Next, we're going to talk about understanding emotion, which is, let's talk about how we understand emotion. Emotions are just not reaction, it's about they are shaped by our own experience, our body's physical response, and our perceptions of the world. It also the language that use the social environments we're in. So, emotion are the combination of the what we feel inside and interpret those emotions.
Next, I would like to briefly share about how our emotions are influenced by our body and mind through three major theories. First, the organismic view of emotions of the James Lange theory, 1922, says that emotions come after our body reacts to something. For example, when you receive a gift, your body reacts with a big smile. Then you feel happy. So, in this view, the body reacts first and emotions follow. Next is the perceptual view of emotions, also called the appraisal theory. This theory says our subjective perception of a situation shapes how we feel. For instance, one person might see failing a test as the end of the work, while other might see it as motivation to improve. So, emotions come from how we interpret events. And lastly, we have cognitive labeling view. This theory says that when something happens and our body reacts, we then label that reaction, and that label creates the emotion. Like if your heart races when you see someone, you might label it as love, or if you're scared, label it as fear. Even though the body's response is the same. So in short, organismic view, body first, then emotion. Perceptual view, our view shapes emotion. Cognitive labeling, we label the reaction and feel based on that.
First, interactive view and framing rules. According to the interactive view of emotion, what we feel and how we express it are influenced by social rules. One example is framing rules, which define the emotional meaning of situation. For instance, in Western culture, funerals are seen as sad and respectful, but Irish Americans may hold wakes, which are more celebratory. This shows how culture shapes how we are supposed to feel. Feeling rules and emotion work. Feeling rules guide us on what emotion we should or should not feel in certain situations. There are two ways people can deal with this. First, deep acting, trying to actually feel the emotion, like forcing yourself to be happy for a friend's success. Second, surface acting, pretending to feel something like smiling even when you are upset. Emotion work is the effort we put into showing the right emotion, especially in social or work setting. It's stressful when there's a gap between what we feel and what we are expected to feel. This is called the pinch.
You guys might be wondering, what are the reasons on why we don't express our emotions? Why we don't show our emotions? So let's talk about why that happens. So sometimes it's because of our culture and society. In some places like the Westerns, people they expect women to show emotions, but men are often expected to stay strong and hide their feelings. Other times, it's about protecting ourselves. We might worry about how others feel, how others will see us, or what they'll think. If the person has more power, like a boss of a company, we might stay quiet. And that's what they call as the chilling effect. Not only that, we also hold back our feeling to protect others. Maybe we are scared that expressing how we feel could hurt someone's feeling or embarrass them. And finally, it can also be about our roles or jobs. In some jobs like a nurse, doctor or teacher, showing too much emotions might seem unprofessional. So that's why they kept their feelings inside. And at the end of the day, there are lots of reasons why we stay silent, but understanding them can help us find better ways to express what we feel.
So now let's talk about ineffective emotional expression. So the first one is speaking in generalities. When we say things like I feel bad or I am happy, we are being too general. So instead of saying that, we need to say something like I feel anxious because I have an examination tomorrow. So this is way more specific and it helps others to understand our emotional state better. The next one is not owning our own feelings. So sometimes we blame others for our own emotion by saying things like you make me angry. But instead of saying you make me angry, you need to say I feel angry whenever you don't call after saying you will. For example, this focus on your feelings and the behavior that triggered them. The next one is counterfeit emotional language. This is when someone sounds emotional but is not actually naming how actually they feel. So for example, instead of saying, why can't you leave me alone? Say, I feel frustrated when I'm working and you walk in because I will bruise my own thought. This helps other person to understand exactly what is wrong. Let's talk about social media and emotions now. So, we often struggle to express our emotions online just like in real life. So, for example, you might post things like, I am fine, I am doing great, when you are actually really upset. While social media actually help us share emotions, it also replaces real conversation and make us feel more distant actually.
From this chapter, I learned that it is very important to first identify what we truly feel and choose our words on how to express it properly. We should own our feelings by using I statements instead of blaming others, such as you always didn't listen to what I said. No, that is wrong. You need to use I statement. And always monitor ourselves, our self-talk, so we don't make a negative emotions worse. And besides that, I also learned that it is important to balance out feelings with logic, so emotions doesn't fully control our actions. For example, if we work in an organization, if we have an argument with someone, we need to put our emotions aside and make our works and tasks together to be done, instead of fully got caught by our emotions. One thing I find most valuable is learning to respond sensitively when others share their emotions. This means not rushing to solve their problems, but actually giving them freedom to express and make them feel safe. I also realized that paraphrasing what they say helps show that we really understand both their words and their feelings. Overall, in this topic, reminds me to handle my own emotions well and support others more kindly.
Okay, to end my part, let's go through some guidelines for communicating emotions effectively. First, we need to identify what we really feel, because then we should decide how and when to express it and use the language to take care of our responsibility for our emotion. It's also crucial to monitor ourselves and try to approach feelings logically. Lastly, when others try to share their feelings, we should respond with empathy and the right way. And also the important one, we should listen them carefully and actively and try to understand and how they feel before jumping into another solutions.